When it's cold enough for water to turn from liquid to solid, very odd things can happen. Ice isn't just frozen water. Sometimes it bends the rules of physics, defies expectations, and creates formations so bizarre they look like something out of a sci-fi movie. From eerie spikes rising out of lakes to perfectly round ice pancakes floating down rivers, nature has a way of turning the cold into a full-blown spectacle. Whether it's the wind, the currents, or some mysterious mix of science and magic, these 15 strange ice formations prove that winter has a mind of its own. Number 15. Grasshopper Glacier. Most glaciers are just frozen water. Grasshopper Glacier, though? Well, it's a frozen insect time capsule. Nestled in Montana's Beartooth Mountains, this glacier is home to millions of grasshoppers, specifically Rocky Mountain locusts, which have been perfectly preserved in ice for hundreds of years. Scientists first discovered this bizarre natural archive in the early 1900s when geologist J.P. Kimball noticed dark streaks in the ice. Turns out, those streaks were literal piles of grasshoppers, trapped by sudden, brutal storms long before TikTok made bug videos popular. The strangest part? The Rocky Mountain locust is now extinct, meaning this glacier holds some of the last specimens of the species, like nature's own cryogenic experiment. Unfortunately, due to climate change, Grasshopper Glacier is rapidly shrinking. As it melts, the preserved bugs are decomposing before scientists can fully study them. So, if you ever wanted to see a frozen plague of locusts before it disappears forever, this might be your last chance. Number 14. Tule Lake Crystal Ice Cave. Hidden beneath California's Lava Beds National Monument, the Crystal Ice Cave looks like something ripped straight from a fantasy novel. Unlike your typical lava tube, this cave holds a breathtaking underground kingdom of ice, formed in an environment where fire and frost coexist. Stretching nearly 960 feet long and plunging 150 feet deep, this frozen wonderland is shaped by water seeping through cracks, freezing into icicle chandeliers, massive stalagmites, and even frozen waterfalls. But don't expect an easy visit. Access is strictly limited. The fragile ecosystem means only a handful of winter tours are permitted each year, and even then, visitors must navigate tight passages, slippery ice floors, and near-freezing temperatures. Climate change, however, is threatening its icy splendor. Warmer winters have led to less ice formation, with some tours being canceled due to unstable conditions. If temperatures continue to rise, this natural masterpiece could become nothing more than a memory encased in history, rather than ice. Number 13. Blue icebergs. Most icebergs are white, but some, well, let's say they glow an electric, almost alien-looking blue. These blue icebergs aren't just pretty, they're a mind-bending lesson in physics, time, and pressure. Here's how it works. Over thousands of years, snow piles up and compacts into dense glacier ice. This process squeezes out air bubbles, leaving behind pure, compressed ice that can absorb longer wavelengths of light, like red and orange, while scattering only blue light back to our eyes. The older and denser the ice, the deeper the blue. Some chunks look almost sapphire in color. You'll find these frozen marvels in Antarctica, Greenland, and Alaska, where ancient glaciers calve off massive chunks of ice that glow like frozen gemstones. But they don't stay blue forever. As the ice melts and air bubbles creep back in, the striking color fades, proving that even the most magical things in nature don't last forever. Now let's talk about number 12, Heineberg's Lawn. While Jökulsárlón gets all the tourist attention, Iceland's Heineberg's Lawn Lagoon remains a hidden gem. Located in Vatnajökull National Park, this glacial-fed lake is where icebergs melt in a completely different way, from the top down instead of the bottom up. Here's why that matters. Most glacial lagoons experience dramatic iceberg flips. But Heineberg's Lahn's melting pattern keeps its icebergs more stable, creating a surreal, serene landscape. The lagoon's depth of over 330 feet ensures pristine, glass-like waters that perfectly reflect the surrounding peaks, making it a dream for photographers and nature lovers alike. But just like other glacial wonders, Heineberg's Lahn is at risk. Iceland's glaciers are retreating at an alarming rate, with experts predicting they could shrink by 25% within 50 years. If that happens, this peaceful, untouched lagoon might soon become another victim of a warming world, a breathtaking beauty on borrowed time. Number 11. Brinicles, the underwater icicles of death. If nature had its own horror movie, brinicles would be the villain. These terrifying underwater icicles, known as icicles of death, form beneath the Arctic and Antarctic ice, slowly snaking downwards like frozen tendrils from another world. And what makes them truly eerie? They freeze everything they touch. Here's how they work. When sea ice freezes, it expels super salty brine, which is colder and denser than the surrounding seawater. This sinking brine forms a descending tube of ice, growing downward toward the seafloor. Any unlucky marine life, like sea stars or urchins, gets caught in the freezing water and instantly entombed in ice. Brutal. Though they look like something out of a nightmare, brinicles are delicate and rare, forming only in calm, still waters under specific freezing conditions. Luckily for larger marine creatures and divers, they aren't a real threat, just another eerie reminder that nature has a flair for the dramatic. Number 10. Ice volcanoes of Lake Michigan. When you hear volcano, you probably picture fiery explosions, not icy geysers shooting water into the air. But on the frozen shores of Lake Michigan, winter brings a bizarre natural wonder: ice volcanoes. Here's how they form. Freezing temperatures and relentless waves create conical ice mounds along the shoreline. As waves crash into these mounds, water shoots up through openings at the top, creating an eruption-like effect. It looks like a cross between a geyser and a snow cone machine gone wild. These icy formations can reach up to 15 feet tall and are constantly reshaped by the brutal winds and waves of the Great Lakes. But while they're mesmerizing to look at, they're also incredibly dangerous. The ice is thin and unstable, meaning stepping too close can send you straight into the freezing water below. So, if you ever spot one of these natural wonders, appreciate them from afar. No volcano diving is allowed. Number 9. Sudden stratospheric warming. Every now and then, the Earth's atmosphere decides to pull a dramatic move, flipping winter on its head. This event, known as sudden stratospheric warming, SSW, happens when warm air from the tropics rushes into the polar stratosphere, causing temperatures to skyrocket by as much as 50 degrees Celsius in just a few days. What's the result? Chaos. The polar vortex, the swirling mass of cold air over the Arctic, gets disrupted, spilling frigid air southward and leading to extreme winter weather in places that usually don't see it. Think snow in Texas or deep freezes in Europe. SSW events also create bizarre optical illusions, like halos and glories around the sun or moon, caused by shifting ice crystal formations in the upper atmosphere. Though rare, occurring about once every 5 years, SSW has been documented since 1929, proving that sometimes even the sky can throw a winter tantrum. Number 8. Black ice. If winter had a villain, it would be black ice, silent, sneaky, and responsible for countless falls and car accidents. Unlike the thick, frosty ice that coats lakes and sidewalks, black ice forms when supercooled water droplets freeze instantly on contact with a surface. The catch? It's nearly invisible because it's so thin and transparent, often blending in with asphalt or concrete. It gets its name not from its color, but from what's underneath. The ice is so clear that it takes on the dark shade of the road or pavement below. Add a little dirt or pollution, and it gets even trickier to spot. The first recorded case of black ice dates back to 1812, and since then, it's been ambushing pedestrians and drivers every winter. The best way to avoid it? Assume every shiny patch on the road is a trap, slow down, and trust that black ice doesn't play fair. Number 7. Frozen moose in Alaska. Alaska is no stranger to extreme cold, but every now and then, nature decides to outdo itself in the most brutal way possible. Case in point, 2 massive bull moose, frozen mid-battle beneath the ice, locked in their final deadly struggle. It's a scene that looks like something straight out of an ancient warrior's legend, only this time, the battlefield is a frozen river, and the weapons are antlers. Moose aren't exactly known for settling disputes with a handshake, especially during rutting season. When the stakes are high and the drive to assert dominance takes over, these giants go head-to-head in fights that can last for hours. But in this rare and tragic case, their antlers became so tightly entangled that neither could break free. One theory suggests that as exhaustion set in, one moose lost its footing and dragged the other into the icy water. With no way to escape, both drowned, becoming a haunting reminder of nature's merciless design. Number 6. Lake Erie Storm. Most people dream of owning a house by the lake. They don't, however, dream of that house being encased in a thick shell of ice, courtesy of Lake Erie's furious winter storms. But that's exactly what happened in Crystal Beach, Ontario, when an extreme blizzard transformed lakeside homes into eerie frozen fortresses. With 60-mile-per-hour winds whipping across the lake, waves towering at 25 feet crashed onto the shore, launching freezing water onto everything in sight. The temperatures were so low, 20 degrees below average, that the spray solidified almost instantly, coating homes in a thick, spiky layer of ice over a foot deep. Sounds cool? Not if you own the place. The weight of the ice threatened to collapse roofs, and once things started thawing, flooding became the next nightmare. For a few frozen days, though, those homes looked like something out of a post-apocalyptic winter fantasy, proving that Mother Nature has both artistic talent and a dark sense of humor. Number 5. Snow rollers. Ever seen a giant Swiss roll made of snow? Well, no, nature isn't baking pastries. It's crafting something just as rare: snow rollers. These odd, hollow snow cylinders form under a bizarre set of conditions that make them one of winter's most peculiar phenomena. For a snow roller to appear, 3 things need to happen. First, the snow must have a sticky, wet layer on top and a loose, powdery layer underneath. Second, the wind has to be just strong enough to start rolling the snow, but not so strong that it destroys it. And finally, the terrain has to be just right. Not too flat, not too steep. When all of this lines up, the wind gently peels and rolls the top layer, creating a perfectly coiled snow log. Some of these rolls grow as large as car tires, looking like they were handmade by nature itself. But blink, and they might be gone. The slightest rise in temperature melts them away instantly. Number 4. Narusawa Ice Cave. Tucked away in the Aokigahara forest at the base of Mount Fuji, the Narusawa Ice Cave looks like something straight out of a fantasy novel. Formed by lava flows from a volcanic eruption in 864 AD, this underground tunnel is now home to towering ice formations that never fully melt. The cave stretches 512 feet long and descends 70 feet below the surface, maintaining a year-round temperature near freezing. Water drips from the ceiling and instantly freezes into massive icicles and shimmering ice pillars, some reaching up to 10 feet tall. In winter, the ice formations become even more dramatic, creating an eerie, otherworldly glow when light passes through them. Visitors navigate narrow, winding passages, ducking beneath frozen stalactites while surrounded by walls of crystal-clear ice. It's a breathtaking yet chilling experience, both literally and figuratively, and a hidden gem for those fascinated by Japan's volcanic history and natural beauty. Number 3. Vatnajökull Glacier. Iceland's Vatnajökull Glacier isn't just a frozen expanse. It's a sleeping giant with fire in its veins. Covering 10% of Iceland, this glacier hides something unexpected beneath its icy surface: active volcanoes. Yeah, you read that right. Volcanoes lurking under all that ice, just waiting for their moment. When these subglacial volcanoes erupt, they don't just spew lava like the usual suspects. Instead, the intense heat melts the ice above, creating huge underground lakes. When the pressure builds too much, the ice bursts open, unleashing catastrophic floods known as jökulhlaups, a fancy Icelandic word for water's about to wreck everything in its path. One of the worst happened in 1996, when a volcanic eruption melted so much ice that billions of gallons of water came rushing out, sweeping away roads and bridges. It's a constant battle between fire and ice, and Vatnajökull stands as proof that even the most frozen landscapes are far from still. Number 2. Ice circles. Nature loves a good spin, and ice circles are proof. These floating, perfectly round discs of ice look like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but they're actually a rare and fleeting winter phenomenon. Sometimes called ice pancakes, ice pans, or ice crepes, they appear in slow-moving rivers and lakes, twirling hypnotically like a frozen ballet. How do they form? It's all about physics. When a chunk of ice breaks off, the swirling motion of the water grinds down its rough edges, sculpting it into a near-perfect circle. Some of these icy UFOs are small, while others, like the 100-yard-wide one spotted in Maine in 2019, are so massive they could host a winter dance party. Even when the water looks still, the disk keeps spinning, thanks to subtle temperature differences creating tiny circular currents underneath. It's mesmerizing, eerie, and just one more reminder that nature doesn't need special effects to blow our minds. Number 1. The New Hampshire Ice Caves. New Hampshire's White Mountains are known for their rugged beauty, but every winter they transform into something straight out of a fantasy novel. Hidden among the snow-covered peaks, massive ice caves take shape, turning the landscape into a frozen wonderland. These aren't just random ice formations, they're carefully sculpted by nature and, surprisingly, a bit of human ingenuity. The whole thing started as a backyard experiment by Brent Christensen in Utah, who wanted to entertain his kids. What began as a simple ice cave idea snowballed, pun intended, into a full-blown winter attraction. Using a network of drip pipes, artisans handcraft these icy fortresses, carefully layering and shaping icicles until the caves, tunnels, and slides emerge. By the time they're finished, these shimmering structures weigh over 20 million pounds, glowing under colorful LED lights at night. It's a magical sight, but don't get too attached. When spring comes, the entire castle melts away, leaving nothing behind but memories. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.